Hey guys, welcome to the Trini Zone. Today I have a very important video for you guys to digest. This is a video I'm so hyped about because the amount of knowledge, the value of knowledge you're going to obtain from this video as it relates to decentralized knowledge graph will be paramount. So today we're going to be interacting with the OriginTrail decentralized knowledge graph. We're going to be publishing and querying the OriginTrail decentralized knowledge graph, and we're also going to be taking a first-time look, from community members' perspective, or from anyone from a community, speaking all the inside of the UAL layer and how this is actually going to interact with NFTs and what you can do with it. So this is actually a groundbreaking video in my opinion, because there's pretty much nothing like it. I'm going to be the first person to ever create this sort of video on OriginTrail, at least from the open community perspective, if you understand what I'm saying. So guys, today we have a lot to get through. You're going to be installing Postman, which is a platform that allows you to interact with OriginTrail APIs and other APIs. But of course, today we're focusing on OriginTrail. And then we're also going to be then connecting that Postman application to our OriginTrail decentralized network node. We're going to be publishing a bit of data and also interacting with these data sets on the OriginTrail decentralized knowledge graph. And afterwards, what we're going to really take a deeper look at is pretty much what the UAL layer is with these NFT assets, and what does it mean to have this asset really in the UAL layer. Talk about a little bit of theory. And at the end of this, just to put a cherry on top, I'm gonna show you how to install one of the automated publishing scripts created by Cosmic Cloud, who is a loyal OriginTrail community member and has contributed quite a bit of resources to the OriginTrail community for us to use free of charge. So without wasting any more of your time, let's begin. The first thing you're going to want to install is Postman. This is the application that will allow us to interact with the OriginTrail decentralized networks API. Now, of course, you're going to choose the operating system. If you're Windows, Mac, I am on a Windows machine, so I'm obviously going to be speaking from the Windows perspective. So go ahead right now, download, install Postman, and continue this video. All right, so once you've installed your Postman and you open up your Postman screen, what you're going to see here is pretty much this blank canvas. You have nothing here. You have your collections, APIs, and environments. I'm not necessarily going to dive into all of this just for the sake of time, of course, because this Postman application itself can take a lot of time to learn. However, it's not very complex. Awesome. So you've successfully installed Postman onto your system, and now we're about to connect your Postman application with your OriginTrail decentralized network node. So the first thing we're going to do is create a collection. And this is a collection, as it says here, a collection lets you group related requests and easily set common authorization, tests, scripts, and variables for all requests in it. So pretty much these are the things that we're going to be using. These requests are what we're going to be using to interact with the OriginTrail decentralized knowledge graph. But of course, we have nothing here. So how exactly do we populate this with the collection that we require? Well, we're going to do that by heading to the OriginTrail GitHub page. So if we head over to the OriginTrail GitHub page, right? So by the way, link is in the description below. We hit OT node as this is the primary repository. And right here, what you're going to want to do is click this develop button right here and scroll all the way down to the V6 testnet release version. And what you can see here is Postman. So we're going to hit Postman, and then we're going to click DKG V6 Postman JSON. And what I want you to hit right here is raw. And this will give us everything laid out in JSON on our web page. And then we're just going to hit save as, and you're going to save this somewhere on your computer. I created like a Postman folder, and I'm just saving it in there so you can see that my DKG V6 Postman collection is already here. All right, so we're back over the Postman, and the first thing that we're going to do here is import the actual collection that we've downloaded from our OriginTrail GitHub. So we hit import, and then we're doing upload files, and then we're doing Postman collection. Now, as a developer, there is another way to do this. So let me just go ahead and delete this right here. And if you do have a GitHub account, you can actually import the collection directly from GitHub. So we can go to GitHub and then hit continue. So when we head back over to Postman, what you see is I'm able to choose from OT node here, and I'm also able to scroll all the way down to the v6 testnet and hit continue. And it's allowing me to import the Postman collection. So how was I able to do that? Well, I have done is on my personal GitHub page, I had gone ahead and forked this particular code onto my GitHub. So if we check my repositories, what we're going to see is I have my own copy pretty much of the OTinode repository here, which is linked to my GitHub. So if you sign into your Postman, you can actually just do that import. So I just wanted to show both ways, just in case it's easier and you already have the OriginTrail repository forked to your repositories. All right, so we're into our Postman, and as you can see, we have all these different requests that we can use to interact with the OriginTrail decentralized network. We can provision an asset, and we can update that asset retroactively. So we're going to be doing some of these things, okay? So let's start off by trying to send this asset through. What's going to happen? Well, it says our host is not found. Well, this is happening because we have not yet connected our OriginTrail node, our Postman application, to our OriginTrail node. And the way we do that is we're going to, if we check here, it says this variable itself is undefined. There's no value in this variable. So what we're going to do is make sure that every time this host variable shows up in our application, that it's pointing to the IP address of our OriginTrail node. So to do that, we're just going to create a collection variable really quick. It's not going to take very long. We're going to hit the 3 buttons over there, hit edit, and then we're going to go over to variables, and then let's add host. And then right here, I want you to add the IP address of your OriginTrail node. Now, if you don't have your OriginTrail node set up, now please refer to my other video where I actually showed you guys how to set up your OriginTrail node. All right, so I've pasted my address in there, and I'm just gonna save that by Control S. I just do my quick little shortcut. There is a save button somewhere around here, right here, right? So if we go back to our first request here, what we will see that now it's showing that it is the IP address of my node. So I can actually try to send this data request through now. But what will happen? Access denied. Okay, why is it telling you access denied? So what this is indicating is, yes, you are indeed sending your request through to the node, but it is a status of unauthorized, which means the node itself is saying, I refuse to accept this request because you are not given permission, access to my system. So what you now need to do is whitelist your personal home address on your OriginTrail node. So this is why your OriginTrail, now you're seeing how secure your OriginTrail node actually is, because no one can actually just begin communicating with your OriginTrail node without you doing the following steps that we're about to do. So let's do that. So to obtain your IP address, I suggest going to whatsmyip.com. That's where I went to utilize and get my IP address, and I use the IPv4 address, okay? Now, of course, I don't want to show my IP address here, so yeah, but I'm just saying this is where you can go to get your IP address. Now, the next thing I'm going to want you to do is relog into your OriginTrail node. Remember, we've done this by coming to the Access console from DigitalOcean. Now, after you've entered your OriginTrail node, what you're going to want to do is access your node configuration file to add that IP address as a whitelisted IP. So what we're going to do is head into the body of our OriginTrail node, the folder, the directory that contains our OriginTrail node, because if we check these directories here, what we see is we have our OriginTrail node right here. So we can do cd ot, and if you hit tab, it'll autofill for you. And then we're going to check the contents of this particular folder. So as you can see, we have that we're in the actual OriginTrail directory. So I want you to run this command in order to access your node's configuration file. I want you to do nano.originttrail_node_rc. And once you hit enter, once you do enter inside of that that file, what you can see is you have, remember we entered our public key and our private key in our previous video, and you can see some additional information, but right here it says IP whitelist. As you can see, your own node your home IP address is whitelisted by default so your node can communicate with itself, of course. So now this is where I'm saying add your home IP address that you got from that website. Okay, so I'm going to add my IP address, and then I'm going to hit Control X to save and save out the application. All right, so I've added my IP address, and what I'm going to want to do right now is restart my node. Of course, if we head back over to the OriginTrail documentation, there's a quick restart command right here. We're gonna copy, head back over to our node, and our OriginTrail node should be restarted. To verify this, we're just gonna open the journal and see what's happening. Again, we're gonna grab our journal command. We're gonna grab our journal command from the OriginTrail documentation, head back over to our node, and view. As we can see, this is the actual startup of a node, and we have, yes, and now we're receiving our assertions again. So our node is restarted under the configurations that we have just set up. Congratulations, you successfully connected Postman to your OriginTrail node, and you've also allowed your OriginTrail node to absorb requests coming from your home IP address and your local Postman application. So guys, before you even begin trying to send requests, you're going to want to make sure that you have Polygon Matic testnet tokens in your wallet. And to do that, you're going to want to go to faucet.polygon.technology, put in the public address for the wallet that you have here, hit submit, and it will fire off some testnet tokens your way. And then you should be good to go. If this does not take place immediately, give it some time. The faucet is known to go down. Relax, don't panic. Give it an hour or two, try again, and you will receive your tokens. So now we're going to actually try sending some data through to the OriginTrail decentralized network. And it says bad request. But why? Well, this is happening because the body of this request is set to a file, and this file is not existing on my system. What I'm going to do is link this request to be sent via a particular, via some test JSON that I've already set up here. And of course, we're going to use an NFT example. So this is an example of a JSON LD asset that is an NFT, which I would like to upload to the OriginTrail decentralized network, okay? So what I'm going to do, I just have these set up. These are actually, you can actually just download these. So what I'm going to do now is upload this file to the OriginTrail decentralized network. And by the way, we know that this is a JSON LD linked data file because it gives us a context for a schema for which defines the values, or which defines the understanding for these other properties. So let's upload it. So we're going to head back over to Postman, and of course we already have this NFT example uploaded here. So what we're going to do first of all is let's add some unique keywords like Amos V6 or Trini Zone, and let's do my beautiful wife Yvonne. And you know what? I'm going to add the big boy Branna in there because he's so damn cool. All right, so let's head back. So now let's try sending this request through and see if it will be submitted to the OriginTrail decentralized network. In fact, while I do this, I do want to show you how the OriginTrail node is going to react with you sending this request through. So as you can see, we're just collecting our we're actually helping facilitating data storage right now on the network. So we're not actually posting anything. So what we're going to do is hit send, and it's still a bad request. Why is that? Well, if you look here, I purposely left out this bracket so that you can see that you're going to run into this error. So make sure you have your notation correct. And now let's hit send. And now it's returned a handler ID. But what did you see here? It's actually, we've actually got our UAL. If we scroll right back up, actually, when we first sent the request over, it did this right here, provision request received, which was remember, if we look over, we sent a provision. So it said the provision request was received, and then it issued a UAL and an assertion ID. It released a metadata hash and all of this cryptographic information. And guess what? Look, guys, we see our keywords as Amos V6, Branna, Trini Zone, and my beautiful wife. And it sent the transaction to the blockchain. And what's taking place right now is it's actually reaching out to the closest nodes to then begin the storage, or is looking for the areas where it can begin building a neighborhood of Amos v6 under these keywords. So what's taking place right now is this data set is being propagated throughout the decentralized knowledge graph and decentralized network. And this is an example where you would see our enhanced tokenomics come into play, because if you had more tracks tokens staked on your OriginTrail node, well, as it says here, it improves your chances to be engaged as holder of published assets by increasing the stake associated with your node. So this is why you're going to want to accumulate as much track as you can possibly have. And of course, delegated node staking at that point would be you pooling your track on someone else's node and receiving a portion of the rewards. So this is the enhanced tokenomics coming to play with our version 6 update. So, and as a result, we've been given this handler ID, which will allow us to track the progress of this particular provision. So let's scroll back down so our node is to the most frequent portion. And what we're going to do is now try to obtain the results of that provision. So we're just going to copy and paste exactly right here. All right. And then we're going to hit send to see what the status is for this particular request. All right, and it says it's completed again. And what you're going to notice is that every time you do interact with the Postman interface, you're actually sending requests to your node, which is doing the work for you and returning the results. So let's copy these results and put this somewhere where it's more readable, where we can just take a good look at what we have here. So I've created a file called provision.result.json beforehand so that everything's neat and tidy for you. So what we can see here is that the status is complete. We have the blockchain network that it's posted to, and it's posted to the Polygon testnet. We have the transaction hash that is produced by this transaction on the blockchain. So this is why we say all of our information, all of our data is anchored in blockchain, cryptographically secure. In fact, let's copy this transaction hash and let's head over to the actual Polygon testnet explorer, and we're going to paste that transaction hash in here. And there you see the actual result of this being stored on the blockchain. And we can see the block, we can see how long ago it was 2 minutes ago, and we can see the information from the wallet that did the publish. All right, so we're heading back over to the documentation because we do have a bit more information to digest here. What you see is the ID. This is a unique ID, or your assertion ID. It's going to be the exact same thing that is produced in your OriginTrail node. And this, my friend, is the new innovation of the OriginTrail. This is the UAL. So this NFT that we just uploaded to the OriginTrail decentralized network has been given a unique UAL within the knowledge graph. So this uniquely identifies this NFT rather than the ID. So you may be saying, why do you have the ID for the ID of the assertion, and why do you have the ID for the UAL? Well, think of it like this. The ID for the assertion necessarily maintains a state. It's a state of a thing at that time. So for example, my UAL, my NFT JSON, my NFT may have all of this information under this particular ID. Okay, but if I were to edit this and repost, it may have a different ID, but the same UAL. The asset itself is the asset, but the IDs represents that particular state of the asset. So let's dive into exactly what this may look like. We will get there. So we're going to reopen our Postman, and because we have our particular, what we're going to do right now is update that particular asset that we just did. And of course, to do that, we're going to select a new state for this asset. So let's find a new file, and we're going to do NFT example updated. Okay, so let's look at the difference between the NFT example updated and the other one. So as you can see, this is the regular example, and this is NFT example updated. It just has the extra updated information in here. So actually, let's change the description to Amos is teaching on the decentralized knowledge graph. And this will be the state for our updated asset. Okay, so let's go ahead and upload this NFT updated. And you know what? We're just going to upload it under Amos Tom, Amos TT, Amos T, and Amos Tester. And we're going to leave the rest. Okay, and of course, we want to uniquely identify which asset we want to update. So we're going to get our UAL from our NFT from our previous upload. So let's go back to our request, to our results, and then we're going to grab the UAL because this is the unique asset identifier. This is the unique asset locator. Okay, and then we're going to be updating this particular UAL. So we're just going to paste that in there, and then we're going to hit send. And as you can see, our node, check it out right here. We are accessing that particular UAL, and we've created a new assertion ID right here. This new assertion ID of 64C. Let's see if this is going to match the ID that we have in our script here. So what we're going to do is look for the results of this transaction thus far to see if it has completed. We're going to hit send, and we can see that it's still pending. Of course, it's going to take some time to actually perform all the blockchain actions and whatnot, but this will soon return a completed result. We're just going to wait until that's done. All right, so as you can see, our request is now returning that we have issued a new ID, and yeah, there it is. The ID is that same 64C number. So this is the assertion ID becoming the ID that uniquely represents the state of the asset on the OriginTrail decentralized network. Okay, so we can see that it's an NFT, and we can see that the visibility of it is set to public, so anyone can actually access it. So what we're going to do now is take a deeper look at the inside of this asset. Let's go ahead and repaste that particular provision result. So what we're going to be doing here is resolving our particular UAL. Basically, we're going to say, hey, OriginTrail decentralized network, show me everything you have on this particular asset by this UAL. So we've already pasted our UAL in there, and I've ran the command for you and obtained the handler ID. And I've copied this off. I've copied this particular line. Remember to get that in all that information. And I've gone ahead and over to my resolve result. I've pasted it in here already, and of course sent my request through. And now we can see that I have returned some results. But you know what? Let's take a better look at this. Okay, so we want to head over to our documentation here, and we're going to look for our first resolve result JSON here. I've set it up so it could look nice for you. And this is where you're going to see the real beauty of this UAL layer. So now we have the asset, right, identified by the same unique UAL, because this time we've resolved by UAL. So we're looking at the overall asset and not the state. So we have the overall asset here, and what this says is this is the assertions on that asset. So you can see that cryptographically, this is the first state of this asset, because look at the timestamp. This was done before this one. So this is the original state of the asset, and this is the second state of the asset, the most updated state of the asset. And you can see that this is an NFT, and it was issued by my wallet at this particular time. And this is the JSON LD, the context for it. And what we can see here is that the latest state of it is what's being presented as the NFT metadata, which says Amos is teaching on the decentralized knowledge graph. Because remember, we added that in there just to show the difference between the NFT and the original state and the updated state. Okay, so this is what is meant by when you sell an NFT asset via the OriginTrail decentralized knowledge graph, you're actually selling the complete state, the entire history of an asset, which can also be linked with other assets to create new states. So what this is like is it's network effects for the data sets themselves, for the NFTs themselves, with full historical context. So you can imagine that you have a UAL of a car that's going through its manufacturing process, and each time they add something new, they update this asset to say, hey, it's here and this is the state. And you can continuously watch this asset evolve and the value of it increase as it's reaching its closest to its end state. This is an awesome way of implementing a sort of historical NFTs, but live. It's really nice. I don't know if that's a real term. I'm just saying that. But yeah, this is what the power of leveraging this sort of system. This is what we can do with the OriginTrail decentralized knowledge graph. So if we go back into our resolve result and we see that we have two assertions here, what we can actually do is now call upon the state of this NFT as it were at that time. They still exist. They still are real to the NFT. So the past NFT is not like its old state. That's not what it was. It still is that, but in combined with the new state as well. So each of these still has value in its original state, outdated or not. So what we're going to do is, since we know that we tied this particular assertion to the tags of Amos v6 Trini zone, remember earlier we did that, we're just going to search for it by Amos v6. So what I've done here, I've actually already sent this command to. I've actually already gone ahead and sent this command through. So what you can see is we've gone ahead and filled in the query value as Amos v6. It returned this handler ID from which we copied, and then we went to our assertion search result, which we put in here, and then we ran our commands. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy all of this off to see what do we get. Well, if I go to our assertion. All right, so on the assertion result, what we can see here is actually returning the original information I put through and it's returning the keyword. So I can search just like Google based on what I type in, what I'm looking for, and the OriginTrail decentralized knowledge graph will return just that. But my friends, let's take this to a whole nother level. Let's envision something else. So what I'm going to do is run this command under this tag. I'm going to provision more results, more NFTs under this same tag as Amos v6. Okay. All right. So I've published more assets under that very same keyword of Amos v6 brand Trini zone. And what we're going to do is resolve. We're going to search for this asset. Of course, all the assets once again under this particular keyword. So let's hit paste, copy, and then we're going to paste this over here under our assertion search result. Let's paste that in there and run that command. All right, now let's copy all of this and put this into our assertion documentation. Let's check this out. So what you're going to see here is that, okay, we have multiple assets under the same keywords. So now when you search for that keyword, it's not returning the singular asset anymore. It's returning every asset on the network under that keyword. This is decentralized search, my friend. It's actually here. It's actually working. This is quite similar to you going to Google and typing OriginTrail, GitHub, and it pulling back all the results that it knows that you can do with those particular keywords. Of course, Google does leverage AI for their algorithms to help their search more robust. So this is where we can see the concept of asset discoverability staking really come into play. So if we were to imagine that each asset here was fundamentally different, but they have the same keywords. Well, if you stake a certain amount of track on that asset, you may be able to allow it to rise higher in the ranking when you search for it. This is the same concept that Google utilizes in order for their page ranking. It's the page rank mechanism, but in a decentralized manner, 100% decentralized and cryptographically verifiable. This is the power of asset discoverability staking on the OriginTrail decentralized network. Of course, there are different searches. You can search using different sorts of requests like Sparkle and whatnot. So I encourage you to go on and explore the rest of these content. But to be honest with you, this video is getting quite a bit long. So we will have to close off the Postman instruction here because I did owe you one more piece of content as it relates to automated publishing for the OriginTrail v6 bounty. So this is a script created by Cosme. The link will be in the description down below. All you have to do is log into your OriginTrail node, run this command from the root folder, and you will install the his script, which will automatically start publishing jobs on the OriginTrail decentralized knowledge graph. So just you can see, I've gone ahead back to my root directory. And so as you can see, I've created an ODN weather folder here as a result of running that command. And now I'm going to go to it. Of course, it has this particular script here. And when you do run weather sh, when you do run weather, of course, it continues to look for these data sets online, and you generates unique keywords and generates unique data sets for you to post onto the OriginTrail decentralized network and participate in the OriginTrail bounty. Guys, was seeing the inside of the OriginTrail beautiful or not? Do you guys enjoy this sort of content? Are you guys happy that I took the time to perform this sort of stuff? Because I really believe that it's important to really dive into the technology and understand it and begin to learn how to use this thing, because this thing will take over the globe. And he with the knowledge, well, that's what we're all in a knowledge economy right now. So if you gather the knowledge on how to utilize the backbone of the knowledge economy, well, you have damn near infinite power. Okay, guys, love you all. Stay tuned for more content. Peace and love, but not just sometimes. Always.